Welcome back to the Paul's Podcast. I'm Dylan, one of your hosts here from the great state of North Carolina, the beautiful town of Wilkesboro. To my right, I have our newest member. Just voted on him last week. He did make the cut.
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely. It was a 1-2 vote. So, wait, how's that work?
That's what I was going to say. How's that really work? But, yeah, I'm Seth Aldridge. I am from Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm the only one on the panel of podcasters from South Carolina. Do you have something to say, Dylan?
No, I was just listening.
Okay, well, South Carolina is better than North Carolina, but we'll move on to the guy on my right.
I'm CJ Carroll. I'm a California kind of guy. No, I'm kidding. But it is an honor and a pleasure to be here. I think we're all excited to go ahead and get started.
Yes.
On the opposite end of the table is
I'm Justice Burkett, and I'm from up in the mountains of Jefferson, North Carolina.
wow, pretty place up in Jefferson.
Yeah,
That's what he said.
Is it Jefferson or West Jefferson?
it's Jefferson where I live. Actually.
Is there a big difference?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Do you think Jefferson's prettier
That's
than
where all
Boone,
the crack kids live.
or do you think Boone's prettier than Jefferson?
I think Jefferson's prettier just because we don't have the college.
I would agree. I'm with you on that.
I like it.
Yeah.
Because college people can ruin them. I'm just kidding. We love college.
Hey,
Wow.
we're excited you guys tuned in today. We have our first episode dropping. This is the title of this one's going to be about the impact of preachers in our lives, and looking forward to what we're going to talk about. But hey, let's talk a little bit about how we began this, like what started it for us, where Paul's Podcast originated, and kind of the meaning behind why we name it the Paul's Podcast.
Well, there's really no meeting. It's really all CJ Carroll. Starting the phrase pause.
I don't want to take too much credit. We all have discussed this wide variety of discussion and wanting to have an outreach or an influence. But I'll be honest, the thing that really got this thing on the roll, the ball rolling, was when Dylan made the first investment. He's like, guys, if we're gonna be serious, let's go ahead. I'll get the board, we get everything else. Let's split it and let's go on.
Moneybags McCann over here.
The richest man at the table is Dylan, in case you're wondering.
Well,
The Lord.
I would say what
Financially,
really kind of got it going, as far as just the ground roots of it, is like CJ said, we wanted an outreach, but I think when we started talking about it, ideas just started rolling off the top. It was easy. It was easy to just kind of pick it up and run with it and talk about it. And like I said, Dylan made the first move. When Dylan got on board, it was okay, you either put up or shut up.
I'm the type of guy, if you're going to do it, let's do it right.
Yeah,
let's not
absolutely.
sissy-foot around with it. Let's get on with it.
We know.
But, the whole meaning behind Paul's, the way I'm taking it.
Oh, yeah.
I know about y'all, I listen to podcasts. I listen probably 2 or 3 a day. Definitely on the way to work and then on my way back from work. But one thing I found out with Paul's is just, it's good to pause, take time out of your day, and enjoy a good laugh. And
Absolutely.
Enjoy something that hopefully we can help you with. I know for me, I love to laugh. I'm just the type of person that loves to laugh.
Me too.
And now laughing does get to a point where I'm like, okay, I've laughed too much today.
It just depends who you're laughing with.
Yeah, it's true. If I'm laughing with Justice, I can laugh all day.
And
for some reason, he's got a contagious laugh.
Well, and also, you talking about the pause out of your day. There's a lot of times in your life where you're just going to need to take a pause. And in that moment, why don't you just put us on your phone, on your TV, in your ear, and we'll try to, whatever you got going on, man, just
like Dylan
you can
said.
laugh.
Just like Dylan said, he listens to podcasts when he goes to work and stuff, and
all the time.
so
Yeah.
having a stressful day at work, maybe we can lighten the mood.
Turn on the
Happy
Pause
Monday
Podcast
morning,
and you'll
or
be
whatever
just as
morning you're
happy.
listening.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I have my morning ones I listen to that are some good Bible study ones. But I also love current events. I love crime mysteries and stuff like that. Listen to case files. But it's hard to find a good podcast like that doesn't have language all in it.
Absolutely,
Oh, yeah.
And
I
so
agree.
that's another burden coming into this to start this episode or to start this podcast was because we're going to cover a wide variety of topics. Like today, we're going to be talking about the impact of preachers in our lives, people that's influenced us. But then, it don't stop there. We're going to go all the way down. We got some conspiracy theories we're going to discuss. I'm looking forward to, and even we was talking about last night some possible case files that are still ongoing or cold case files that possibly could be solved in the future.
would be fun. And to build on that too, especially with this podcast and our age and our influence in our communities and how we all live in different areas and have influence on different individuals. There's not a lot of young people, or to be fair, even middle-aged or older people that can look at a generation up and coming that shows professionalism, that shows excitement, that's just happy to be alive, but also has a Christian foundation by God's grace, and that's not often now. So
I'm a big sports guy, and sports is not something we're gonna key in on a lot on the podcast. We'll talk about it, but man, I can't watch a sports podcast without like filthy language and just people just completely running each other down. You really can't do it.
No.
But like on here, we don't want to really run people. I mean, we might pick on each other. That's about it. But we don't want to run people down. We just kind of want to build people up. We want people to come on here and laugh and have a good time. But
yes, sir, absolutely. I think that's the importance of it anyways.
Oh, yes, sir.
Just to have a good old time. Just a good 30 minutes out of your day. Take a big, long 30-minute pause and just have a good Monday.
Oh, I'll tell you what. That was a bad idea.
The bang?
Yeah, that's got me burping like crazy. I'm trying not to, but I can't hold it in. Hey, we'd like to take a time and thank our sponsor for today. Who is our sponsor?
We don't have
We
one.
don't have one. So, hey, if you want to be a sponsor.
we're not those guys.
Dylan
Mountaineer-
McGann.
Mountaineer Duck Cleaning graciously donated $2,000 to the business. I'll tell you
Thank
that
you
about
so
that tomorrow.
much.
Remind me to tell Michael about
I think Dylan stole all of it, so we're already having some issues with our financial. But
that. In my defense, I lost my wallet. CJ found it.
He never has his wallet.
Hey, true. But, so yeah, man, hey, let's jump on into it about some preachers that's influenced us. And I will gladly kick this off, and because it's fresh on my mind. If I don't remember it now, I won't remember it. First of all, it was hard for me to narrow this down.
same here.
And I have a ton of good pastors in my life that's helped me. I have a ton of good preachers in my life that's helped me. Now the verse we're going to try to the verse that we're going to come off of today is Proverbs 17:22. It says, "A merry heart doth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones." And that goes all the way back to just laughing. That's why we're making this podcast, so that way you can have a good time and laugh. It does good like medicine. And but yeah, I'll start us off with the preachers. And so like I said, it was hard for me to narrow it down because I have so many good men of God in my life, and it was tough to pick one. So obviously I'm going to go with my number one contender, and that is my dad. And I don't say that lightheartedly. I know it sounds cliche. Most pastors' kids would say my dad. But in all reality, man, it is. And
Yes,
not many kids have the privilege to be raised in a home that I was raised in. And my dad is my hero. And I know I'm 24 years old, and it sounds dumb to say, but even at 24, I still look up to my dad. And he has been not only a good dad in my life, but he's been a good preacher influence in my life. I'll never forget the night I surrendered my call to preach. And we'll go on into that story a little bit more later into the episode. But I called my dad, and I'll never forget the excitement that he had for me. And now there's one thing the Sunday schools heard me tell this. When I was telling my dad before I announced my call to preach, or the Lord's call for me to preach, I was talking to him about it, and he told me, he said, just forget about it. And I was like, well, I mean, okay. And at first it made
Thanks,
me,
Dad.
yeah, no, it made me mad. I was like, well, why in the world would you want me to forget about it? Ain't that cool? And I come to find out the reason he told me that, he said, just forget about it. Try to forget about it. And probably a month and a half later, July 31st of 2015 is when I surrendered the Lord's call for me to preach. That whole time I asked him, I said, what was the purpose of that? He said, if God's calling you to do something, you won't be able to forget it. And so that stuck with me the rest of my life is that, hey, you're right. And that's the thing. That's helped me a lot in my Christian life. But, man, he's just helped me grow as a Christian. He is one good preacher and a good pastor. And here lately I've been trying to glean a lot from him. And as I'm getting older, I don't know what the Lord's will for my life is just yet. Like, I know where I'm at is where the Lord wants me. But down the road, if the Lord ever does allow me to be a pastor, or he ever allows me to be a youth pastor, assistant pastor, stuff like that, here lately I've been hitting him up, hey, how do you handle this situation? And he's had some good ones here lately that I was so curious. And, like, I had to ask him, I was like, Dad, I know how I would handle it, and I know that's not how you handled it. So how did you handle that? And he would go in to tell me, and I'd just be like, yeah, I didn't think of that. But, man, he's just – and I'm going to try to cut it short here, but he's been good. And a good influence in my life. And it's the man I strive to be. If I could be half the man, half the dad, or half the preacher that he was, in my life and that he is in my life, then I believe I'll amount to a pretty good person in life. And but the main thing is I want to be pleasing to the Lord. And that's one thing I have to say that my dad's taught me. It don't matter what my wife thinks, don't matter what my family thinks. It all matters on what God thinks with my life.
Yes, sir.
And with my ministry. And so for me, that's one thing that I strive for is that, hey, I'm going to do everything I can do to please the Lord with my life. And I believe that's the biggest thing my dad's taught me. And it's not about money. It's not about fame.
Right.
It's about the Lord. And so that's one thing that I have to say that has influenced me heavily is my dad. And that's Tim McCann for all you people out there wondering. And he's a good man. Dad, we're going to charge you for this plug-in. So.
Well, that says a lot on your reputation as well, because a lot of young preachers now, or even young people, you know, they see their father, they may be a pastor or preacher, but they strive or they get so much, I don't know, feeling out of rebellion or going against their father's will, or, you know, they're too prideful or arrogant to give him a call or just say, hey, Dad, I love you, or give him a hug. And I mean, I don't know. I think that says a lot on you as well, that you can still look up to your dad and that he's held that throughout the years where you can still call on him and ask questions and that he has the wisdom.
Oh, yeah. I called him the other day. I mean, like I had some tough stuff going on at work. And then me and my wife had some stuff come up, just health issues. And I just called him, man. And I called him, number one, because he's my dad. And I called him because he's my pastor. And I just cried to him. And the best part about that is that he's understanding. He give me counsel, and he cried with me. So I don't know if he wants me saying that on this. But, hey, I love my dad and my mom. My mom's going to listen to this. She'll be like, what about me? You ain't a preacher, Mom. So she can preach better than most men I know.
That's what I was going to say. My mom can hit it a lick, too.
My mama, man, you let her preach, she'll preach better than most men we know. And especially if you give her a broomstick, she'll beat everybody in the church. But, yeah, who's going next?
Shots fired.
Well, I'll go ahead and go second. And the man that I want to talk about, it's Brother Matthew Tucker. He pastors a church there in Concord, North Carolina. And he taught me, and I could go with my dad. I know that's going to look bad that Dylan went with his dad, and I'm not using
Wow,
mine.
Seth, what a good son you are.
Steve, I want you to know, I told him he should go with you. So.
Okay, well, it's going to lead up to you, Dad. But so Brother Matthew Tucker, one thing that he did in my life is he showed me, and I think this is a big deal. Like as a son to my father, I knew how to be his son. I didn't really know how to be a church member. Like I didn't know how to be, you know, as a preacher's kid, you just kind of get thrown into it. You do this, you do that. But as I watched Matthew Tucker under my dad before he became a pastor, as I watched him in our church, he taught me how to be a church member. He taught me what it was like to be right there, be my dad's right-hand man. He taught me what it was like to, when you had a business meeting or when you had something going in the church, how to just side with the pastor instead of getting on board with other groups or if there's any problems. He always sided with my dad no matter what it was. And that's commendable because as a pastor's kid, as somebody who's grew up in a pastor's home, I look at my dad, and when I see loyalty to him, you know, that brings joy to my heart because I see somebody get behind my dad, get with my dad the way I want to be behind him. Yeah. And I was able to get behind. And I've told Brother Matthew, I told him, I said, you taught me how to be a church member. And he really did because, you know, I'm not a deacon in our church or anything like that, but I know that I need to side with my dad. You know, like if something doesn't seem right, he's the pastor, and we're going to follow him. Or, you know, that's just how I've looked at it. And he really did teach me from a young age. I mean, and I call him Uncle Matt because, I mean, he was close. You know, Dad has to go make a hospital run, Mom's not home or something like that. He was always, hey, just bring the kids over here. And, you know, he'd keep us and him and Aunt Stephanie. I mean, they were really close, and they just kind of got in there and taught me what it was like to be a church member but a Christian and always be ready, instant in season, out of season. He was that guy. I mean, that's what I would say about him. And I love him to death. And I love you too, Dad. I love you too, but Dad, love you. But I will say this about my dad. He has taught me, and this is one thing that's good about this podcast. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine. He has taught me how to laugh. I think you guys can agree that he's that he's going to try to make you laugh. He's going to get up and do skits and act crazy.
There's a lot of good skits at Loudoun Mountain Youth Camp.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. When he gets directing a skit, and he has taught me that laughter does do good like a medicine, and he makes me laugh more than anybody else.
I have to go I go ahead. Somebody else.
Sure.
Yeah, I have to
go ahead, Justice.
My dad can get me laughing too.
Yeah, that's true.
I have a lot. a lot of men of God, like Dylan has said in
Hey,
my
brother,
life.
You can't use me, so I'm on the podcast.
Don't take Dylan. He's mine. I've already got.
I got to rewrite my notes now.
Sorry, folks. Joe
I
Washington.
love my pastor. Dylan's dad is my pastor at Cherry Grove, and he's been a major help to me. I've been going to Cherry Grove for 3 years now, and he's helped me tremendous. And love him and love his family and love Dylan. And
Amen.
and but I probably say the one I really want to talk about is Brother Cody Shoe.
Yes, sir.
Man, I can't stand that guy. I'm picking. I love Cody. I love Cody. And,
Wait till they clip that out. You're all over Facebook already, brother. I see it now.
I can't stand it. I love him. Me and him sat there and played a talk the other day. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just growing up at camp at Light on the Mountain ever since I was little, and then I remember being around Cody even at a young age, as being in the juniors, as being my counselor and helping and talking to me, and even going all the way back to when I was right when I got saved. Right after I got saved, I was doubting a lot. And I remember spending a lot of time with Cody at camp and talking to him about, and I remember him helping me. And but I remember I've grew up in church my whole life, and I had some things happen in church that kind of hurt me.
Sure.
And he could see it, and I guess last year it was still bothering me pretty bad, and he could tell. And he just I don't really know how to explain. He wasn't really just like, it wasn't like he was just like, this is what you need to do. I'm going to tell you, you need to do it exactly the way I need to do it. But he was just a mentor to me, and he just let me talk to him and kind of, just vent to him about things.
Yes, sir.
And but I remember last year, me and CJ and him did a couple Spartan races last year. And
I regret some of them.
Okay, quit flexing. We get it.
Most of them.
peak male form.
And
I love how I was left out of that.
Dylan did one too.
Dylan
one.
did the second one
Yes,
with us.
he did the second one with us.
Which was
And
the worst.
last one.
Which was the worser one.
Yeah,
So,
it was.
Worse. Okay.
worser?
I
But
give it to him.
We
He
had
some good
fun.
work.
We had fun, but I
We did.
remember the first night or the first race that we did. We went and stayed at that parsonage at that church,
Yeah.
and just we stayed up till like 2 or 3 in the morning.
It
We had
was-
to get up in the morning and run, but we just stayed up and talked about
Yes, sir.
everything. And that helped me tremendous. And just being able to call him, I mean, he'd call me and check on me and stuff. And
Yes, sir.
I ain't talked to him in a while, but
Wow.
just
So much looking up to him, huh?
I just
got a lot of
he's-
respect for him.
He's very, very, busy. I know, and
Yes,
I don't
sir.
want to bother him. But no, Brother Cody's probably one of the major impacts in my life. Just mentoring to me, helping me, and just being a friend. Just being a friend
Yes,
to me
sir.
too.
You know what
And,
I know I liked him?
what?
When we were all getting ready for the Spartan race, he comes walking over there with a headband and a mustache. I was like, who is this guy? And Justice goes, that's Cody Shoe. And he walked over there, and oh yeah, Cody Shoe. And what cracked me up, that was funny, because it just had a headband, one of those sweatbands on, and the mustache is what got me cracking up too. And then they're all getting ready for the Spartan race. They're like, we are Spartans. And Brother Cody looks at us, he said, let's pray. Our heavenly dear Father. And it was hilarious. I was like, man, I like you.
I felt
And
the
then after
smoke
that-
screens. I felt
Yeah.
strobe lights. I felt something stirring when he started praying.
Yeah, well, what was funny, right after that, he took off, and I didn't see him till after the race. And that was probably 45 minutes after they finished. Me and you.
Yeah.
Me
I
and you
stuck with
took our
Dylan.
time.
Dylan stuck with me.
It was, the Lord.
Yeah, we left him.
The Lord, he said bodily exercise profiteth little. So
But
that
Brother
one,
Cody
Okay,
did
X-free.
Brother Cody did get a message off of that Spartan race. I've heard him preach it. So
Yeah, I did too. We
That's what I'm
both, we
saying.
all went.
We all
As a
heard.
He
He
called me
tabernacle.
out several times
Yeah.
from the pulpit.
He
that's
did.
what I'm saying.
It was interactive, though, not in a derogatory manner.
bad.
well, he
I
really
enjoyed
knows
it. He talked pretty good about me.
Yeah. We get it. Tough guy down there.
Pause.
I would say the same for me. I would say a preacher that's influenced my life, and even like if it's a spiritual individual, but specifically like Cody Shoe took me under his wing. Like I didn't I had some sort of church background growing up, but when I moved away, I mean, I didn't attend church. I didn't do anything church-wise. I mean, I was just living a sinful, lost life anyways as a young boy. I mean, I was just enjoying it. I mean, I didn't intend to do anything bad. It was just what you did. And you just enjoyed it and had fun. And, I mean, it's not like we did anything out of the ordinary that anyone else wouldn't do. But I remember moving into Pisgah Baptist Church, and I got saved in 2014. Month and 10 days later, I got called to preach. And I remember traveling with Brother Cody Shue, and specifically at a High Point camp meeting, he would take me, and I spent a week with him. And there was just several nights that we would stay awake and just talk, and I was still shy in a shell. But he would just open up to me, and he would share his story and his life, and he was trying to get me to feel comfortable so then I could do what God had intended for me to do, whether it was shout or say amen or raise my hand. And now I'm leading the choir, and now I'm preaching at local churches, and now I'm even at teaching public school. So it's like, I'm obviously God be the glory, but Cody Shue did take me under his wing and was like, hey, I don't know what you've gone through, but I don't think you've really had someone to be there for you, so let me be almost like a mentor, a friend. But he's also level-headed. So like you said, I mean, we've done the Spartan races with him. I mean, we've talked, spent late nights together, went to church together, worshiped together, cried together, prayed together. I mean, it's just...
Y'all are pretty close.
But I do thank Brother Cody Shue, probably specifically for me too, over these last 8 years of my life. He's always been there. And I mean, obviously, you know, we're all a little bit goofy and weird, and you know, so, but I love him to death, and I think that's the importance of it, is that we have someone to look up to, but also someone to level with, like like dealing with his dad, or Seth with Matthew Tucker. I mean, someone you can be a friend with and laugh and have a good time, but also when it gets serious and it gets real, they're there too.
Yeah.
And I think the key to finding somebody in your life, a good preacher, in my mind, a good preacher or a pastor is somebody who's invested in you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
100%. Like, and this sounds terrible.
Absolutely.
It needs to be somebody. I can say this for sure. That number one will invest in you, but has a vision.
Right.
Yes.
With not just you. I don't know. Like with me, I know my dad has a good vision for the church, and I'm following him. And whether he was the pastor or not, as long as the pastor has a good vision and he's investing in you, man, that's something to be thankful for.
Yes, sir.
Because I know for sure there's several young people who don't have good people to let invest into them.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like I said, I was going to write down everybody, but I have
There's
so many.
Oh, yeah, there's too many.
And
I think it all goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode. These men, they have purpose in their life that they want to make an impact on others' lives. They want to make a positive impact on others' lives. And I think that that's good for everyone. I think everyone needs a purpose in their mind that, you know, even if I have a hard day, bad day, whatever it is, I need to make an impact on somebody's life. Right. I need to be the difference. I need to do something to make that person either smile or, like you said, be there when they need to cry or whatever they need. You need to be that person. And I think that, and even with the podcast, that's kind of how we want to view things is we want to be an encouragement. And I think that all these men of God that we've mentioned, they've been an encouragement in our life. There's been a time where we felt low, and they come up to us and they were talking to us, and they helped us get through a situation. And I think that's what it's about. I think we're called to do that. I think we're supposed to get into someone's life and be a difference maker in their life. No matter if it's your youth group, somebody young, an older person, somebody, you need to make a difference in someone's life.
Well, I feel like we've been, you know, we have a lot of friends, a lot of, you know, pastor friends and from meetings and youth camps. And I think a lot of times we've seen young people, they've heard good preaching, and they've went to a good church, but they really ain't had the discipleship.
Right. That's the key.
Like they needed. And I mean, that's why we know a lot of kids that as soon as they turn 18 and they go out in the world, and they're one of the reasons why they completely give up on everything is because they were really never taught and didn't really know why they believed what they believed.
Right.
They just believed it because mom and daddy said, you know, this is what we believe.
Yes, sir.
And I'm thankful for. I remember about a year ago we did that discipleship, or I guess it's been over a year now because we were at the old church. They did the discipleship course.
We had an elderly lady get saved, 82, 86, 82.
Wow.
Got saved.
You don't hear about that very often.
A preacher's daughter.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just even though, you know, people that had been, you know, going to church there, we had people that said they'd been going to church their whole life, like 30, 40 years, and some of the stuff they learned in that class they never knew.
Wow.
And that's key, man. And and that goes back. So as we transition into the end of the episode, that kind of goes back. I know some of y'all, we want to dedicate this episode to Ryan Marlowe. And,
Yes.
and nobody mentioned him today, but I know for me, he has invested in my life. And he has been, and that's his life verse, a merry heart doth good like a medicine. And honestly, when I hear that verse, I think of him. And I've only met him a handful of times, but every time I have met him, he's been a hoot to be around. And,
He's always excited, always smiling. You never saw him with a frown or upset. Even on his worst days, when he was going through that whole thing with his youngins and they were facing all, he was always praying and happy what God was going to do and excited. I mean, just positivity oozing from his body.
Yeah.
He was just a joy to be around, like you said.
And for me, so the night I surrendered to the Lord's call for me to preach, he was there. And my pastor, Philip Moore, and Seth Sisloff, and Ryan were there, and then Jonathan Pittman. I don't know if y'all know who that is. He is a good preacher, and I ain't seen him in forever. I would love to reach out to him, but he's the one who was preaching that night about young men who would be willing vessels for the Lord, and then that's what the Lord worked in my life.
Yes,
and so, but man, I'll never forget, and that's like for me it was a big step. Like, man, I'm about to commit to something that there's no going back on. But it's like I had peace about it. I was like, the Lord will bless me for this. Right. And I'll never forget the excitement on their faces, especially Ryan's. That big old grin he has.
Yeah.
And like, man, congratulations. Be praying for you. But I mean, it was a camp we were at that Cherry Grove used to host. And that stuck out to me. And then we all went and shot shotguns into
Praise God.
Yeah, watching him shoot shotguns was hilarious. America. And so America, baby.
Yeah, for sure. And my experiences with Preacher Marlowe come through like this, like similar circumstances where we were searching for me to somehow get involved a little bit more, just learn and just ooze up information while I was still in high school and things. And we pretty much found him teaching the Associates in Music class, and me and my dad were the only two people in that class. There was two people that he taught. And it was every Tuesday for a year. It was 2 years, I think, every Tuesday. And he would come in there excited, ready to teach. I mean, there was only two of us in that class, but it was like the class was 50 people. Yeah. And he'd come prepared with knowledge and information. I mean, from beginning to end, he was happy, ecstatic, excited. I mean, he had everything about him that just made you want to be there every Tuesday. And then in addition to that, I mean, I went on to do my master's degree at BBBI. And he would come in. He would come in, and it was the same way. And that was the time he was experiencing all those difficulties and trials and tribulations in his life. And he was always excited. Hey, brother CJ, doing all right? Is your dad doing okay? I'm glad to see you here. I love you. We'd love to see you at church this Sunday. Or I mean, just inviting and loving and caring and compassionate. Yeah. I mean, really, just a tremendous man. And there's like we've talked about, there are so many preachers. There's so many spiritual influences, preacher or not, that have impacted our lives to help us take a stepping stone to the next step in our life.
And that's another thing we want to say. Not everybody that has influenced us have been just preachers.
Oh, like exactly.
There's been plenty of men in the church that are not preachers, that are not deacons, that are not teachers, but they're just under rowers. They're lay members of the church who's helped me. And I'll never forget, we had this one guy, I ain't even going to go into it. He had one leg. He would sweep the front porch off every day at the church. And we picked on him.
Wow.
And, but his name was Sonny. And he always was smiling, too. He had one leg, had a little nub.
Yeah, it's just finding what you can do. Finding what you can do
and do it for the Lord.
Yes, sir.
Do it and be
happy.
And I have to say, I don't know Matthew Tucker. I would love to meet him one day. I know a Matthew Tucker, but I promise you it's not Matthew Tucker. You know. The Matthew Tucker I know is not a preacher, but he's a good Christian guy. He's just a dummy. I love you, Matthew, if you're listening to this.
Which one?
My Matthew Tucker, not his Matthew Tucker. And but hey. Man, thank y'all for tuning in, and seriously, we're looking forward to this. We encourage you to go check us out on YouTube, check us out on Facebook, check us out on all the I don't know what
Spotify,
Apple Music.
We're gonna try to be on as many platforms as possible.
And before we send you off, we just want to give you guys, a word of encouragement and reminder to, always. When you go into something in life and you have these different situations in your life, try to find that person that you can go and you can get under, and they can give you direction. They can give you direction, good golly direction. And we're so glad you guys tuned in, and we hope to get a little crazier in the next episode. Yeah. Maybe make you guys laugh a little bit more. But we needed to do this episode, and we needed to get it out of the way because we have this burden on our heart.
Amen.
Yeah. Yes. Pause. I just now realized CJ is an educated man. He's got a master's degree.
Oh, yes.
Hey,
degree does not equal education.
yeah.
that is
Is
right.
that-
All the disciples,
But-
they said they perceived that the disciples were ignorant, unlearned men.
But Donnie Shoemate was a fantastic teacher. Praise God. Thank
Hey.
God for some preachers.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Hey, have a merry heart and look, turn your frown upside down and smile
We'll
today.
see you guys
Yes.
Next Monday.
week. Let's go.